So our groundwork's been pretty good. He's, now he's, stepping out of our personal space and he's flexing. He's got a little way to go, okay, but we're going to keep working with that. But what I want to do now is actually want to lunge him around the float and near the float. And I want to see actually what happens with him, and I want to see how well he can take to that. Now, unlike if you go back and have a look at the video that we did with Rocco, Rocco could not lunge, and so therefore there was no point trying to lunge him anywhere near the float. However, I happen to know that Tango can lunge, so I haven't lunged him before, but he can lunge. So we're just going to do a little bit of work near the back of the float and just see what happens and how it goes. Because, again, lunging the horse on the float is, as far as I'm concerned, that's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to point my horse towards the float and I want him to jump straight onto the float. So if I ask him to lunge off, you can see he's not very keen about the idea of work at the moment. Now, it's fairly obvious that he's not going to want to lunge anywhere near that float, okay? Now, we just did some personal space work, so there's obviously a bit more to do, because right here now, he would rather step toward me than step toward that float. So I'm going to keep the stick between me and him, okay? Whatever happens, I can't allow him to step across and onto me. So you can all see there straight away, and I'll send him the other way, you can all see straight away his lunging isn't great, in that he's more concerned about going past that float than he is about what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start doing some different stuff with him, and I'm just going to actually get him to work either side of the float. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to ask him to go to here. Now, he can't go any further than that because there's a float there. So now I'm going to ask him to go back. So his bubble at this moment is to stay out there. You can see when he gets around here, he can see his buddy walking over there in the paddock. So straight away his focus goes that way. So here we are, we're just going backwards and forwards on the back of the float. Now, what am I trying to achieve here? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show him that, like with the other exercise we've been doing, the float is nothing to be concerned about. Okay, the float is just an object. But I'm also trying to show him that, out here is work. Okay, out here is where I'm going to make him work more than in the float. When he gets in that float at some point, he's going to think it's the most amazing place he's ever been, because it's the only place I'm going to leave him alone. So I'm just going backwards and forwards. I'm not, oh, there we go, good boy. I'm not creating any stress. I'm not getting wound up. I'm not hurting him. I'm not going to let him get his head away on me. Now, if he wants to stop and sniff at the float, that's fine. If he wants to at all investigate the float, I'm really happy with that. On this side, he sort of falls in a bit because he looks over towards his mate. Okay? So here, I have to get a little stronger with that stick. I have to say, don't step onto me. Good boy. Good. Okay. So now I'm just going to eventually get to where we do this. All right, that was quicker than what I thought. There we go. Now, can you see, whilst it's not perfect, whilst he's not lunging, in a nice, calm and relaxed manner, no, he is lunging better than he was a minute ago. Now, what I would ultimately like to be able to do is to lunge him up onto the tailgate. But, we may or may not be able to achieve that today. I just step back because I want to change what I'm doing. I want to send him back to this. There's float. And when he stops on this side, I'm just going to move this bum bar in. Now he's going to go back, that's fine. Now I'm not asking him to go into the float, okay? Just want that noted. So we're just going to keep working. You can see there he gets his head away, and he a true pony sort of burrows his head on the other side. He burrows his head and he kind of gets it down like he's a rabbit looking to go down a hole. It's okay. Good boy. That was better that time. Okay, so can you see now how, whereas previously he wouldn't go anywhere near the float, he is actually now sniffing at the float and he's going toward the float. So that's better already. Okay, so all we're doing is familiarising him with the float. All we're doing is saying, we know you think the float is a scary place to be. We want to show you that it's not a scary place to be. We want to show you that it's just an object. It's just like a fence or a shed or whatever. Now that's really good. That is, and if you go back, and he's going to try and come over me here, if you go back and look at the first bit where Ruby tried to load him on the float, you can see there was no interest in investigating the float whatsoever. And so now he's starting to go, oh, well, maybe I can look at this thing that I thought was so scary. Maybe I can go near it and it won't eat me alive. Maybe I can sniff it. And I don't know if you could hear it, but when he sniffed at the float on this side before, he actually clanged the latch for the back door and he didn't panic about it. Now, why am I letting him stand here? Because it's about as close as he's been to the float. And he's actually reasonably relaxed about it. You just saw he had a bit of a lick and a chew. That's fantastic. He's standing here, and what he's doing is he's looking to me. He's not looking away. He's not looking to run away. He's actually looking to me and going, well, what do you want me to do? Okay, now that's the first time, really, since we started working with him today, he's done that. If you look on this side, you can see he gets a little bit more. His head gets away from me and he's bent in the wrong direction, and there's a few things like that that kind of tell me that he's really not that keen on being on that side. Now you can see I just lunged him past the float. Now have a look how much closer he is already. Okay, and have a look how, even though again it's not perfect, okay, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's all fairies and unicorns when it's not, okay. But if you go and look when we started this a couple of minutes ago, like he was dropping into me a lot more. He was trying to run me over a lot more. Now he's actually starting to listen, and you can see I can change. I can go from where I lunge him on the sides of the float to where I lunge him at the back of the float. And that's fantastic. Okay, he's starting to listen, and he's starting to understand. I'm not trying to kill him. All I'm asking him to do is work near this scary object that he thinks is going to eat him alive. Now, you know, he's going to block up occasionally. He's going to get a bit out of position. I don't want him to go running over people. And that's okay. So we just work our way back. Okay, here's the thing. You know, he thought he would pull back and get away. And I don't mean that nastily. I just mean he thought he would get away from the float. Why does he get to stop then when I had to pull him to stop him from leaving and a few other things? Because he put a foot on the tailgate. That's the first time he's had enough confidence to actually put his foot near that tailgate. So that's really cool. Okay, that's what we want. You know, and he's starting to be less concerned about what we're doing here. So we'll send him back the other way now. That was all right. No, he missed it. Okay, he didn't put his foot on it. I'd like him to put his foot on it. Now there he gets that little bit of a pull away because that's where he wants to go. Now he wants to get back into my personal space. So he's starting to find it a bit stressful again. Let him have a look. If he wants to look at it, let him look at it. There we go. Okay. So, yes, he just put his foot back on the tailgate. Okay. That's great. And you can see that he's getting it because every time I stop him, he starts licking and chewing. Okay. And he starts breathing and blinking, lowering his head. And he starts to understand that I'm not trying to kill him. I'm just trying to teach him something. And that's really good. Now, again, you're not going to fix this today. Okay, we can stand here for an hour and I can belt this horse around and around and around until he's covered in sweat and get him on. But in the long term, that doesn't really help his confidence. I want him to go on because he really wants to go on. I want him to go on because he wants to follow my request with happiness. Okay, I want him to be happy about going to the float. He's not going to do that today. So, yes, if I was stuck, I could keep going until I got him on. But because this horse is a longer term project, and because I want Ruby to have a horse that she can load anywhere, that's enough of that exercise for today. So again, this is the sort of thing that Ruby can work on away from the cameras, and she can, just have him there and lunge him, get him going on and getting going around and being comfortable being around. And then when he's at that stage, that's where we'd put him on the float.